Well, staying with what happened in Parliament today, and no, we're not talking about Rafael, we're talking about the Women's Reservation Bill. The Women's Reservation Bill was brought up in Rajya Sabha today when some members of the House stood up to demand why the government, with its brute force in Lok Sabha, had not passed the Women's Reservation Bill. Why have parties not cleared the bill in Lok Sabha for so long? Doesn't this show that the women vote bank doesn't matter to parties? That's the question we're asking today. Take a look.
All there with them to support them.
सभी ने इस बिल का समर्थन किया है, उसके हक में.
On the debate tonight, the Women's Reservation Bill once again comes up in Rajya Sabha.
We've always been supporting this bill and we've written to the government many times.
Women lawmakers cutting across party lines questioned the BJP as to why, despite having a majority in the Lok Sabha, the bill hasn't been passed.
I request the government, it is there in their election manifesto. It is a promise which they've given to the nation, and we are all there with them to support them to bring this bill.
तब तक एम्पावरमेंट नहीं आ सकती जब तक वो डिसीजन मेकिंग में नहीं आती है, उनको डिसीजन लेने का हक नहीं मिलता है, उनको लॉ बनाने का हक नहीं मिलता.
The Women's Reservation Bill was passed by the Rajya Sabha in 2010 and was sent to the Lok Sabha, but it lapsed due to lack of consensus. The bill will ensure a 33% reservation to women in Parliament and state legislatures. A move that will ensure that women are well represented in the decision-making process for the nation.
We are not against the reservation bill. We are for the reservation bill, but we have certain recommendations. The Women Reservation Bill in its present form would only benefit rich and urban women and not the poor and rural women.
Mirror Now asks, why is the Women's Reservation Bill in cold storage? Is the BJP, which has a majority in the Lok Sabha, dragging its feet? And why is the BJP not presenting the Women's Bill in the Lok Sabha? Let's debate.
Well, remember that the winter session has only one day to go. The Women's Reservation Bill has not been tabled to a point where members of the Rajya Sabha had actually had to ask the government, where is the Women's Reservation Bill and why has it not been tabled in Lok Sabha? It's unlikely to be tabled in this session. So another session of Parliament gone. Only what seems like an interim budget session lies before us, which means that the Women's Reservation Bill is not going to be passed in this term of the NDA government. That's extremely disappointing. Why is it that the Women's Reservation Bill is not a priority for this government? Joining me on the show, Ranjana Kumari, Director at the Centre for Social Research, who's done tremendous work on this particular matter. Aishwarya Mahadev for the Congress, Shaina NC for the BJP. We'll also have Sanjay Hegde, senior lawyer. Prachi Mishra is a senior analyst with PRS, and Radhika Ramsesan, consulting editor for Business Standard, will join us as well. Ranjana Kumari, my first question is to you. And extremely disappointing, to note that not in this session either, which means it's unlikely we will have a Women's Reservation Bill from this government at all.
Well, Faye, this reply to Rahul Gandhi's letter, which was forwarded by Prime Minister's office to Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, he talks about New Deal. And he talks about, let us sit together and have a new deal for women for India. When they were writing their manifesto in 2014, they did not think of that new deal. They said that they will pass this 33% reservation bill. And now look at the way they are turning around. And almost now there will be code of conduct. There is going to be just vote on account. I think there is not going to be any other session. This government has let Indian women down. They don't want to share power. It is very clear from day one but that neither they could provide safety, security nor employment to women of this country. Educated women's employment has gone down. 10% women have gone out of the workforce from this this period of the time, every which account you look at. So finally, sharing power is something which they were really fearing women. But let me tell you, Faye, also that we are not disappointed, because you can see that starting from Naveen Patnaik to, there are at least 12 parties clearly nationally have announced their governments are approving at the state level. State governments are saying they are passing and they are saying that they will support the bill. 3 newly elected government in, I think, by the Congress, because Congress is supporting, is going to do that. So first thing I hope and I am praying that by the next government, women of India know now who to vote for, who are the people who will serve their interests, who are the people who want to really share power with them, give them a right to decision making. It's pathetic, it's laughable that all these men sit together and discuss what women must do, what must be done for women, what kind of issues, what law must be passed. It is women who should be for Sabarimala, against Sabarimala. It is these men who are sitting over the lives of women in the parliament and not willing to share power. We are very confident that women of India this time will make the right choice of the people, whichever party, I'm not talking about the parties, whichever party clearly has supported 33% reservation for bill. And I really congratulate the government, especially in the leadership of Naveen Patnaik and many others like Amrinder Singh and so many other people. Kani Muji, for example, in parliament today spoke. We have Chandrababu Naidu who spoke. I think all these parties which are supporting women reservation, willing to share power with women of India, should be voting for those parties and those people in 2019, so that at least we will have our bill passed, because there was no intent and so you can see the action. Now everything is, the parliament is over. Where is the time now?
Where is the time? In fact, you're absolutely right, Ranjana ji. We will play out the sound bites of everyone who spoke in parliament today, so that the audience knows which parties are supporting the bill and which not. But first, let me go across to Shaina NC of the BJP. Shaina NC, as a woman politician yourself, are you disappointed that your party was unable to put any of its political intent behind this bill?
Totally. I'm totally disappointed as a woman in public life, and I want to say that this is not just limited to a particular party. The reality and the harsh reality is that politics is a male-dominated space, and everyone may pay lip service, but nobody really wants to walk the talk when it comes to women's empowerment or women's reservation. Now, I heard a lot of debate today saying that, oh, this will only help a certain section of society and elitist women and affluent women. That is not even the point. The point is that unless we have a reservation to start with, you will not see competent women being given an opportunity to fight elections. If at all she does, it will only be tokenism, where she's given some constituency where no one else wants to fight, or to say we've given so many women. Faye, the reality is that it's sad that a country like Pakistan has more women representatives than India, and we don't even have 11-12%. Every government that comes in and says that, oh, we want to give a certain kind of reservation
Shaina,
when it comes to women, be it the previous Congress regime as well, despite the fact that you had Sonia Gandhi, etc., nobody really walks the talk and treats it as a priority.
They passed it in Rajya Sabha. They did
pass it in Rajya Sabha. So hang on.
Your party will block it in Lok Sabha.
Shaina NC, I'm going to stop you there. One second. I'm going to stop you there, Shaina NC. You said it's not a question of one party or the other.
We can go back
but let me point out to you.
One
second. Shaina NC, let me point out to you.
Absolutely not.
Let me point out to you.
It
is exactly about one party, because the BJP has a brute majority in Lok Sabha. If you wanted, you could pass it in one day. You've passed an Aadhaar amendment bill that is very, it's already passed in Rajya Sabha. It's already passed in Rajya Sabha.
And then what would happen?
It's already passed in Rajya Sabha. All you had to do was pass it in Lok
Rajya Sabha. Every party supports it. Rajya Sabha, every party head count is there.
Hear me out. With amendments, Ranjana ji, I am not here defending my party or any other. I am saying the harsh reality is there's a hypocrisy in the system. At least applaud me for speaking up and saying the truth, which is that nobody wants the women's reservation passed. And that is
No,
what
but I
we
don't
should all
believe
be
that's
collectively
true.
agitating towards.
No, I don't
At least
believe
in
that's
my
true.
party, I can say with pride that
No.
we have a 33% reservation for an organizational post for women. That's why you have some of the very plump posts like that of a treasurer, which I hold
But
today
where are
in a
women
party
in your
like
party?
BJP. So I'm not getting into that.
No.
I'm saying the reality is that the reality is that this is something we need to collectively fight on, and we need to ensure that
you know what,
every political party,
no,
right
one
from
second,
Sonia
Shaina
Gandhi
NC,
of the Congress
Shaina
party
NC,
to
Shaina
BJP
NC, stop,
and
stop,
the leaders
stop,
in
stop.
BJP
Speak
to
only for
every
your
other
party. No,
party
Shaina
need
NC,
to-
please stop. One second. If the BJP intended, and all they had to do was intend, because today you passed an Aadhaar amendment bill that was very questionable. If you intended to pass the women's reservation bill, you could have passed it and we would have had it by the end of the day, because Rajya Sabha has already passed the bill. But the BJP has not even bothered to table it in 5 years. So while I congratulate you for being the treasurer of your party, that doesn't change the fate of the women across the country and doesn't change the fact that this is an extremely low priority for this current government. Tell me why, as a representative of the government, women are such low priority for this government.
It's not about women being a low priority. Women's safety, security is not something that you can equate with women's reservation. When it comes to reservation, obviously there is an insecurity of the male counterpart who is worried about their seat them being unseated and a woman coming there, and women are far more conscientious. Once she wins, she will probably win repeatedly. And if with the reservation, there are other areas too where women have worked exemplary well. Faye, I'm not being a hypocrite here. I am saying there is a hypocrisy within the political class itself. I am all for women's reservation, and I hope that every leader in our party, big or small, speak up, and collectively and across the board we should all unite only to ensure we bring the pressures upon our individual parties, but also collectively as a movement. Do understand that if we go back in time and discuss what actually has transpired in this country's progression, you cannot just view women as a 50% vote.
No, and I just
same question I'm asking.
No, one second. I also have Sanjay Hegde joining us right now, but I just want to reiterate here that I disagree very strongly with Shaina NC on one point she raised. She said you cannot equate safety for women and women welfare to the women's reservation bill. I think you can equate exactly that, because if we allow more and more women into government to make decisions on what is good for women, you will find yourself solving a lot of these problems. The point is exactly this: men making decisions for women. Ranjana ji, do you want to rebut what Shaina NC has said, and then I'll bring in the rest of my panel. Go ahead, please.
Well, it's nice of her to accept that her own party people have let them down. In fact, within the party, she says there are reservations, but the people are not there. Actually, 1/3 seat in no committee is filled by women in her own party. She knows that. So at least she's accepting that, her party. But where is the time now? 5 years, not a single MP of your party, women MP including, spoke about women reservation bill. 5 years, your speaker Sumitra Mahajan, who walked with me in rallies to demand this, when she became the speaker, she also in this week at least said that this will be discussed in Rajya Sabha, but she couldn't prevail. So all women in the political party, in your party, 5 years down the line, we are still discussing, let's unite, we are united. All the parties have now extended their support for women reservation bill. Every single party in the country today, even the party like Akhilesh Yadav, whose father, in fact, Mulayam Singh Yadav was opposing it. Akhilesh is everybody is supporting the bill. So how can you say, what will happen to Rajya Sabha? You bring it tomorrow, call a special session. If this government has any seriousness, they can call a special session, put the bill in Lok Sabha, pass it, then bring it to Rajya Sabha. I can guarantee you, we have done head count. I can guarantee you the bill will be passed by 2/3. And 2/3 states in the country have already said that they will pass it. It will take no time before it becomes a law act. and any woman, let the poorest of the poor women contest the election. Let all the seats go to Dalit women. Let all the seats go to minority women. We are not at all claiming anything. We are saying give space to women.
Yes.
Yes, that's all we are saying.
Absolutely.
We are not saying which women, who women, how educated and rich women. Who says, if you to contest election, you need to gain votes. And vote cannot come because you are rich, you have short hair, whether you have, educated in Oxford or Cambridge, doesn't matter. You have to be down there with people. And only those women will win the election. So who are they trying to fool?
Well, Prachi Mishra is a senior analyst with PRS that does a lot of research on Parliament. Prachi Mishra, would you concur with what Ranjana Kumari is saying, that the numbers and the headcount in Rajya Sabha already supports the Women's Reservation Bill? All they needed to do was pass it through Lok Sabha.
Right, like you mentioned earlier, and we all know that Rajya Sabha had passed this bill almost 8 years ago in 2010, and because the last Lok Sabha dissolved and after that the bill lapsed, so now in whichever house the government wants to introduce the bill, they'll have to bring up a new bill, and you have to consider that this is a constitutional amendment bill, so it has to be passed by both houses with at least 50% majority of the entire membership of each house and 2/3 majority of the strength of members present in voting, and then at least 50% of the state legislatures will also have to ratify this. So that in itself is quite a long drawn process. Right now, looking at where we are almost, I think we have 2 more days left in the winter session, and we usually do not see important legislation being taken up in the last session, which is primarily to discuss the interim budget and the vote on account. So we do not usually see legislation being taken up then. And typically what we have seen and what is also usually recommended is that when there is a bill which relates to a very key issue, and say, for example, here in the women's reservation issue, there is also the whole thing that, each and every legislation should be sent to a parliamentary standing committee, which can sort of look at both the merits and demerits of every issue. Because if we want to talk about women's reservation, and I just want to highlight some of the issues that were sort of discussed last time when the bill had been introduced. While there are obviously several merits to reserving seats for political seats in parliament for women, because it gives them increased representation. It has been studies have shown that more women representatives mean that they invest more in public goods which benefit women. And it also sort of, I think there was a study done by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, which also showed that it helps develop their sense of self-esteem, confidence, and decision-making ability. However, on the other side, there are demerits or other sides of the argument as well. Because the argument is that these women who get elected through representation are seen as not competing on merit, and they are it further perpetuates their unequal status.
Let me also bring in. Forgive me, Prachi, for interrupting.
Empowerment of women.
Yes. Let me also bring in the other members of the panel, and I'll come back to you on that point. Sanjay Hegde joins us as well, senior advocate with the Supreme Court. Sanjay Hegde, the Women's Reservation Bill now will not be, we know for sure, passed by this government. Shaina NC of the BJP was telling us that, unfortunately, in the political class, there is a hypocrisy towards women, but the truth is really that it was just the one party that needed to have passed it.
Well, quite frankly, nobody likes to give up power. And the real problem is this, that once you have 33% reservation for women, then those women's reserved seats will be rotating constantly.
Yes.
So a member of parliament, a male member of parliament, who continues in one constituency for 2-3 terms, will always have this fear that the next time he will not be able to compete in that particular constituency. So there is no question of nursing a constituency through and looking after it. There were certain constituencies which almost invariably used to be associated with one politician or the other. For instance, the Phulpur was almost invariably represented by Pandit Nehru. Though that will not be possible once the Women's Reservation Bill comes about, I think that is where some thought may have to be given, maybe to go back to the old system, where you, in the early years of the Republic, we used to have dual member constituencies. You would have one reserved seat and one reserved person and one general category representing the same seat. That also is a possibility. Maybe you can have an additional 33% seats first created for women without necessarily getting into this rotational aspect. Maybe that is one way of bringing down hostility to the bill. But the heart of the matter is this: we need more women in positions of power, in positions where they can influence the national dialogue, in positions where they can take over the national dialogue. Today we have a lot of people who keep promising, yes, this is an idea whose time has come, but we will not do. We will do it. We will think about it. It's like that famous phrase from Ghalib where they say, "हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल को बहलाने के लिए यह ख्याल अच्छा है." So you keep on saying that, okay, we will do it. We will do it. Not now. Not yet. If you want to do it effectively, this is my suggestion. First, bring in dual member constituencies, of which one member necessarily has to be a woman in those reserved constituencies, and keep those dual member constituencies rotating. There you would have increased parliamentary representation for women.
Well, my only problem with that, Sanjay Hegde, is that if you bring in dual and you keep rotating them, then that would mean that a woman would never recontest from the same constituency, because the rotation would then be taken to a different constituency. But I do agree that there perhaps are details that we could discuss.
Yes.
Okay, that's much later.
No, can I?
Yes.
Okay, that's much later.
Can I
First,
say
let the
something here?
reservation.
Yeah, Shaina first. Go ahead, please. Shaina.
And may I too?
Can I say something, Faye? Okay.
I just want to make a limited point. Sanjay ji's points are very very relevant, because clearly the man who's going to be unseated is not going to be in for reservation, and is going to use every might within the party or within parliament to ensure that this does not happen. But I think that is a much later stage. First, we need to see a collective political will. And when I say collective political will, I mean for all parties to really walk the talk when it comes to women's reservation. Otherwise, we will be only debating year after year, government after government, one party blaming another, another blaming the other. I think that the final kind of solution can only... Yeah.
Right, Aishwarya Mahadev wants to come in for the Aishwarya Mahadev from the Congress. Go ahead, Aishwarya.
Shaina, Faye, this is not just about political will. The one thing that everybody has to note also, and what my learned friend from the PRS also spoke about, is that this bill has lapsed. What does that mean? That this bill needs to be reintroduced. And in this 5-year term, if the bill had to be reintroduced, which the Congress party has consistently asked for, it has to be listed by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. So the BJP is not only not allowed this to go through, if in case the bill was alive, the fact is the BJP has not even asked for the bill to come up again, this lapsed bill to be reintroduced in either houses. And on the question of standing committees, I want to point out that this bill has gone to 2 standing committees, both of which have recommended it and have also said that there should be some sort of...
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Should be some sort of categorization for lower privilege and whatnot. This bill has not been brought out by the BJP, first. Second of all, if they have the brute majority, but they didn't even allow it. When Ravi Shankar Prasad said, no, I'll support support us on this, we'll support you on this. It was a blatant lie, because the BJP in the 5 years under various of their parliamentary affairs ministers have not even allowed time and time again. And we've been asking for state legislatures now, because the BJP has given us a brick wall to work with. When you say collective will, we understand, ma'am, but what you have done, women's reservation even coming in, because you have listed bills of all sorts over your 5-year term as the government, but you have not even allowed the opportunity of this discussion while you promised and expressed disappointment, which is something that I believe and I completely understand, but your party did not allow it, and that is something you cannot shy away from whatsoever. Patriarchy or not, insecurity or not, your government did not allow it, point blank. That is reality.
Ranjana Kumari, I want to come back to you on Sanjay Hegde's suggestion of an additional 33%.
Well, Sanjay Hegde, I think let's go back to history, and we know that what happened to dual constituency idea, how miserably it failed. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And then is it not a democratic right of women to represent? Is it only men who should represent? It is men only who should keep contesting those elections? Have they? So I think in a democracy, representation matters. In a democracy, participation matters. After all, are we not claiming we are the largest democracy in the world? Today, look what America has done. They have elected their women because they're 11%, 9%, 7% seats to women to contest. How will they ever get there? So that is why, this is a very learned committee with Margaret Alva, with Geeta Mukherjee, with Pramila Dandavate. They went around the country. Thousands of letters were sent, suggestions, all these, suggestions were discussed, and they zeroed in on reserving 33% seats, which every political party can contest. It is not that only women will be put for dispensation. So why not? I mean, what is wrong with having women, one man, one woman, one Dalit? Do you know what happened to the whole idea of dual constituency? In this system, in this country, it is not going to work. Nobody will be responsible, sidelined within that constituency, because women do not exercise that kind of a social power in our country. So I don't think that is a viable idea. Let me just one more say, twice it has faced the standing committee. So why are we recommending all that? Why are we? Because you don't want to share power. Say that you failed in integrating up into parliament. Any parliamentarian can do it. You have a whole law ministry who can do it.
Yes.
What is this?
All right. So we have a couple of people on the phone line.
Redraft, create a consensus.
Yes, we have a couple of people on the phone line. I want to be able to take as many questions from our audience as well. Hamza Rahim.
What is the need for a bill? Because the woman representation is not so many times in India.
We've had a prime minister once.
2 terms, and then she came back again, 3rd term again.
You make it sound like it was a problem.
Ask for a reservation. See, my point is that if you're asking for a reservation, why do you want to put yourself as the weaker section? I am saying that we are all persons, a man or a woman. You have to work harder.
Because men control the parties. Men decide who should be contesting the election.
All right. Listen to the answer. I'm going to give all of the women on the panel opportunity to answer this question, including Sanjay Hegde, who will perhaps argue on our behalf tonight. Ranjana ji, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that, I think he is a little bit ignorant about how political parties function. That is why he's saying this. All political parties are controlled. The parliamentary committees are all men. One ornamental women may be sitting in the committee. Polit bureaus of political parties are all men. Only one woman sits as an ornament there. We have every committee which decides about how many women will contest election, whether 2%. It is in any state assembly, national election, all men decide who will contest, and they will look at social combination, which caste, which community, which religion, who should we put up as a candidate.
Yes.
Always it is men, because it is men, muscle, mafia, mala and Mike. That's what works.
Yes.
So, unless you will really give a
Well, the point is that the country will be making itself stronger by having a more diverse parliament, or any body for that matter. It is not that women are weaker physically or anything of that kind. It is that women. Secondly, what also happens is that the women do not have the same access to financial resources and political resources in a non-reserved scenario. When political parties are forced to necessarily put up women candidates in reserved seats, that is when you will have an adequate representation. As and when that representation is no longer required, then you can think about it. But it is not that women are saying that we are weaker. It is the country that is saying that the country and its diversity, representation according across castes, across communities, across religions is in it.
Of us. We're not asking for reservation in medical seats. We're not asking for reservation in population. That's 500 million. There needs to be 50% fair representation, and that number needs to be corrected in order to have proper representation of what this country actually is. Alok Sharma on the phone line from Delhi. Alok, very quickly, go ahead, please.
My name is Ashok Sharma.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Ashok.
और मत समझो, आप कोशिश कर रहे हैं फर्स्ट टाइम वोटर्स का वोट लेने के लिए। उन सभी फर्स्ट टाइम वोटर्स की जो माँ और बहनें हैं 19 के इलेक्शन में। और आपको एक बात और भी बता दूं, अंदर की बात, कि सुषमा की चीज को प्रोटेस्ट करते हुए। धन्यवाद।
Shaina ji, do you want to respond to Mr. Ashok who just called in? Ashok Sharma.
अशोक जी, मैं खुद स्वयं आवाज़ लेजिटिमेट फोरम पे ज़रूर उठाते हैं, लेकिन जैसे कि रंजना जी ने कहा, पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड में भी ज़्यादातर पुरुष ही रहते हैं. But I want to take it forward to what Sanjay ji said, and I think the 2-3 relevant points that we can talk about here, Faye. One is this constant belief that, oh, a woman cannot win a seat. That is absolutely wrong. First, you have to give her a ticket for her to prove the merit. But I think that if every political party, and I'm not sitting here sermonizing the way the Congress chose to, but even Congress should probably give more women representatives tickets to start with. You don't need a reservation for that. We don't need reservation per se to have more women candidates fielded. Why is every party shying away from that? That too needs to be deliberated on. I think that we have to understand that previous governments, what they did, whether the bill lapsed or did not lapse, whether the numbers were there, were not there. The fundamental and the harsh reality is that women are important as a 50% electorate, and every party has a vote bank which constitutes women. Those women should support parties where there are more women representatives and given an opportunity to fight not losing seats but also seats where you can win. It is not always about muscle power and money power, it's about the good work, and we all know how conscientious women representatives have been in public life. So I think that the debate can go into, oh, only 2 days left and you let us down and all of that, which we collectively know that in this male dominated space how the priorities work. But if we really want to ensure that there are more women candidates, each one of us in our own political parties must assert ourselves.
Aishwarya Mahadev, go ahead.
Very simply, Faye, two things. First thing, when you speak about sort of dual representatives from any constituency, you realize the first thing that does is almost makes it like a concession for women or like a freebie, where you're not an actual representative. Why would you even suggest such a thing? Because I believe women are on par with men, and we do have a lot of female legislators all across, and I believe that this is the policy that basically becomes mere handout to them, saying, there's an actual representative, but this is the reserved representative as well. I believe when reservation comes in, for it to be actually effective and also to make sure it's the most meaningful, it would be best if you give the 33% reservation and a single representative only. On second, with the caller that had come in, and I wanted to talk about that, is that this is the sort of parochial and patriarchal mindset that is keeping women behind. For example, you have to acknowledge, yes, gender equality is something all of us are fighting for, all of us are striving for equality. However, socio-economic structures, the patriarchy and also society has not developed that way. So there's a massive asymmetry between men and women. So there is that push, for example, affirmative action in other countries or reservations also, is that you give them that push initially to to an extent where they can actualize enough to later
Sure.
on be adequate on-par representatives as everybody else. And that, I think, is the most important thing in this
Aishwarya
situation.
Mahadev, quick question before we run out of time. Here's my question to you. Has the Congress, the Indian National Congress, set up an internal complaints committee for sexual harassment inside your party?
There is consultation that is happening currently. I had it confirmed today by the Mahila Congress President, Faye.
So, no. Shaina NC, has the BJP set up an internal complaints committee for sexual harassment inside the party?
No.
Well, I think we walk the talk, and you know that one of our senior ministers resigned, and rightfully so. All of us have a voice, and we echo our sentiment on multiple
He's
forums.
still sitting in Parliament,
And I hope
Faye.
that you can have a
He's
precedent.
No, that was
as
not my
an
question.
example. And
No, the question was, do you have an ICC?
Can I just complete my point, please? The fact is that if there is a case of wrongdoing, it can be brought to the notice of our party president too, which
not
is
how it
normally
works.
the way we proceed in all democratic forums where both viewpoints
No, that's
are
not.
brought
No,
forth.
I'll tell you how we
And as
proceed
know
in
that
democratic
Mr.
forum,
Akbar
Shaina
did
NC. We
resign.
follow the law. The law makes it very clear that any organization with more than 10 members, including a non-government organization, must have an ICC. Now, you can't turn around and say our party president will take all complaints. And I want to put this on record for our viewers who are wondering, why do women need reservation? This is why. Because political parties don't even take women seriously enough to create an ICC for their colleagues. And this is part of the law that was made by these political parties. And they haven't had the time or the inclination to create an ICC where their own female colleagues can file complaints of sexual harassment. This is why we need more women in parliament. This is why we need more women in power. Because at the end of the day, the guys who run the country don't take half the population seriously enough to respect their dignity and their safety. I have to wrap this up right now because we're running out of time. I do understand that Radhika Ramseshan has now joined into the conversation. Mr. Ramseshan, thank you for joining us. But I only have a few minutes, but I want your statement on how disappointing it is that the government has not even made an attempt to pass the Women's Reservation Bill.
I mean, yeah, exactly. The BJP now talks about giving 33% reservation internally in the organization. They haven't been able to fulfill that. So I really didn't expect the BJP to bring this bill. The fact is, Faye, if the BJP, Congress and the left, just these three parties, I mean the CPM-led front, if they put their heads together and show political will, this bill can easily get through. I mean, they don't have to worry about what the Samajwadi Party says or what Lalu Prasad Yadav says, because remember in 2010 when the bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha, all the troublemakers were marshalled out from the Samajwadi Party, JDU and RJD. So there are ways and means to circumvent opposition. I think internally itself in these parties, there is resistance from a section of the males, no matter what they say for public consumption. And unless, I mean, as you rightly said about the Sexual Harassment Committee, the BJP hasn't even set one up internally. So unless that wall of resistance is broken down from within, within the Congress, within the left front, within the BJP, of course, I do not see too much hope for this bill seeing the light of day. Because every time there is talk about bringing this bill, you just have to see the male solidarity, the male bonding across parties. People who otherwise don't see eye to eye, I mean, they bond beautifully on, you know, how to scupper the bill and what should be done and so on. So first, it's a question of changing the mindset. I think that's very, very important. And that is incumbent on the parties themselves to do. I mean, nobody else can help them. Yeah.
All right. We have to leave this here. Thank you, Radhika ji. Yes, we've run out of time. We have to leave this here, unfortunately. Radhika ji ended saying that it's left up to the parties alone. Nobody else can do it for them. They have to change their mindset. I'll tell you who can do it for them. The voters. And I'll tell you something else about voters in this country. Half of them are women. And women are going to take this very, very seriously. There are a couple of things that matter to us a great deal. To start with, safety, dignity, and whether or not you pass the Women's Reservation Bill. Thanks for watching.